I'm a park ranger in the Great Smoky Mountains, and there's one thing you need to understand before anything else. After dark, this place isn't the same. Tourists think the danger is bears, wild boars, maybe a sudden storm rolling in. But that's not what we fear, not even close. We fear the rules. Every ranger learns them on the first night shift. They aren't in the handbook. They aren't printed anywhere. They're passed down from the ranger before you. Whispered, never spoken loudly, and never questioned. Rule 1. If you see a lantern swinging between the trees, do not approach it, no matter how close or how desperate the voice sounds. The mountains know how to imitate a human cry. Rule 2. If something calls your name after midnight, radio in immediately. Never answer, not even with a whisper, especially not with a whisper. Rule 3. If you hear footsteps behind you and there's no flashlight beam, keep walking. Do not turn around. The moment you look back, you're not coming back. Rule 4. At 2:33 a.m. exactly, the forest goes silent. No crickets, no owls, no wind. During those 3 minutes, stay inside the ranger station. Do not open the door. Even if someone knocks and says they're a ranger, we don't do night checks at that hour. Rule 5. If you find a child wandering alone, crying, asking for help, that is not a child. Alert command. Keep your distance. They stop crying the moment they see you've recognized what they are. These rules kept me alive for my first 5 years. But last week, something changed. Something started breaking its own patterns. It began when we found Ranger Hoyt's truck parked on an old logging road. Engine off, driver's door open, his radio on the seat, still crackling, no sign of Hoyt. We searched the woods until sunset. Nothing. At 8:12 p.m., long after the search ended, his voice came through the radio, not calling for help, not panicking, just saying my name, soft, calm, repeating it over and over, the way someone tests the sound of a new word. Rule 2, never answer. I didn't, but someone did. Rookie Ranger Ellis was out on perimeter scan. He thought it was Hoyt returning. He responded. He said one word, copy. We found Ellis' flashlight 2 hours later, still glowing in the leaves. But Ellis himself, we only saw him once more, and I wish we never had. It was 2:33 a.m. The silence hour. 3 knocks on our station door. Slow, careful, almost polite. Let me in, he said. His voice, Ellis's voice, but stretched, like something trying to fit itself inside a shape it didn't understand. We turned off every light. No one moved, no one breathed. He knocked again, and then he laughed. But the laugh came from behind the building, then from the roof, then from inside the walls. When the silence lifted, he was gone. This morning, we received a new rule from command, a rule none of us had ever heard before. Rule 6. If a ranger goes missing after dark, do not search for them. Do not call their name. And if they return, do not let them in. Tonight is my shift again. The sun is going down behind the ridge. The forest is already getting quiet. And right now, as I write this. I can hear footsteps outside the station, slow, heavy, too heavy to be human. They've stopped by the window. Something is breathing against the glass, and it knows my name. Part 2. The night the world ended in the Smokies. The night Ranger Ellis came back, or whatever was wearing his voice, was the night I realized something bigger was happening in the Great Smoky Mountains. Something old, something that wasn't meant to wake. The rules had always kept us alive, but the rules are changing, and when rules change, it means the thing that made them is no longer contained. 2 days after Ellis vanished, the forest started acting wrong. Animals stopped moving in their natural patterns. Deer stood in open fields for hours, all facing the same direction, toward the deeper mountains. Birds flew in circles until they dropped from exhaustion. Bears abandoned their cubs. Even the streams changed direction, flowing backward as if time itself was rewinding. We reported everything. Command gave us the same answer each time. Maintain protocols. Do not engage. But there were no protocols for this. On the 4th night, the silence hour didn't come at 2:33 a.m. It came at sunset, and it never stopped. Imagine the entire world muting itself. No insects, no wind, no water. Not even your own breathing sounds right. Like something massive is sucking the life out of the air itself. Then the sky changed, not clouds, not storm fronts. Shadows, huge, slow-moving shadows stretching across the stars like something was passing between Earth and the sky. But there was no shape, just absence. An outline you could barely see until it moved. The mountains trembled. Trees bent as if bowing to something ancient. We watched from the ranger station as the last bit of daylight drained upward, not downward, as though the sky were drinking the sun. That's when the sirens went off. Not ours, not the park's. Something deeper, older. Like a war horn carved out of the mountains themselves. Command radioed in one final message. All Rangers, enact Rule 0. We didn't have a Rule 0. The radio repeated itself, voice distorted, words crumbling like they were too old to be spoken. My partner, Ranger Dorsey, whispered, "This is it. This is what the rules were preparing us for." Then we saw the lights, hundreds of lanterns swinging between the trees, except there were no people carrying them. They floated, and the voices began, not calling for help this time, not imitating, commanding. Every lantern spoke the same phrase, in a voice that sounded like thousands of lost hikers speaking in unison. Return what was taken. The ground split open near the tree line. A humming vibrated through the earth, rising higher, louder, until it felt like needles digging into my skull. The shadows above us thickened, forming a shape. A colossal outline of something crouched over the mountains. Its fingers, or what looked like fingers, wrapped around the ridges like the land itself was a toy. Dorsey stared at it too long. He dropped to his knees. Then he dropped lower. Then he laid flat on the ground, whispering, "I see it. I see its face." But there was no face. There was only void. The lanterns floated closer, slow, calm, like they weren't in a hurry to kill us. because time didn't matter anymore. Then Ellis's voice echoed across the valley. It's awake. The sky cracked, not thunder, not lightning, a tear. Like the world itself was splitting open. Through the tear, something watched us. Something with no shape, no eyes, no form, just attention, pure suffocating attention. My radio hissed, a new voice, one I had never heard, spoke in a whisper, "Ranger, run." But there was nowhere to run. The Smokies were shifting, warping, folding into themselves like the world was collapsing in slow motion. The lanterns reached the field, outside the station, and stopped in perfect lines. Rows and rows, like soldiers waiting for a command. Ellis's voice spoke again from everywhere at once. The rules kept you alive, but there are no rules for the end. The lanterns all went out at the same time, and the Great Smoky Mountains went completely dark. Not night dark, world end dark. I don't know what's coming next, but the mountains do. They always have.